The first thing everyone noticed was that he arrived alone, walking through the glow of chandeliers and soft violin music with an emptiness that clung to him like a shadow. He wore a neatly pressed suit, but his eyes carried the tired weight of a man who had already lost something before the ceremony even began. This was supposed to be a night of celebration, yet every step he took toward the rows of white chairs felt like a reminder that he was only a guest to a happiness he no longer believed in. The air smelled of roses and candles, and somewhere between the smiles and laughter, a quiet heartbreak was taking its seat. Before the story goes any further, take a moment to pause. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of love that shows up when we least expect it, please like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel Ripple of Kindness. Your support keeps stories like this alive. He had grown up in the same small neighborhood all his life, a place where people knew your name, your habits, and sometimes your pain. Years earlier, he had loved deeply and lost silently, choosing to carry his disappointment with dignity rather than bitterness. The wedding invitation came unexpectedly, addressed with polite familiarity, reminding him that life moves forward whether you are ready or not. He almost declined, but something inside him whispered that avoiding pain only made it heavier. So he came alone, telling himself that showing up was a kind of courage. The hall shimmered with elegance, tables glowing under warm lights, guests leaning toward one another with easy laughter. He sat quietly, hands folded, watching happiness unfold from a distance. Memories pressed against his chest, not sharp enough to break him, but heavy enough to slow his breath. He wondered how many people in the room carried stories no one could see, and whether anyone noticed the way his smile never quite reached his eyes. As the ceremony unfolded, attention drifted toward the aisle, toward the bride's graceful entrance, toward the kind of moment people talk about for years. Yet something else was happening in the background, something quieter and far more fragile. A woman stood among the guests, someone he had known for years without ever truly seeing. She was his neighbor, the one who waved every morning, who shared borrowed sugar and polite conversations over fences. She had watched him rebuild his life piece by piece after heartbreak, never intruding, never assuming, just quietly caring. She had not planned to do anything extraordinary that night. She had come to celebrate, to blend into the crowd, to return home unnoticed. But as she looked at him sitting there alone, shoulders slightly hunched, eyes fixed somewhere far away, a realization settled deep within her. Some moments ask us to be brave not for ourselves, but for someone else. And courage, she understood, does not always arrive with certainty. Sometimes it arrives as a trembling decision. When she stood, the room seemed to hold its breath, though most people didn't yet understand why. Her presence shifted the energy, subtle but undeniable, like the first change in weather before a storm. She wasn't trying to disrupt the ceremony or steal attention. She was responding to something older and more human than tradition. In that instant, she chose honesty over silence, compassion over fear. What followed was not loud or dramatic in the way movies often portray such moments. It was quiet, grounded, and deeply real. Her eyes met his, steady and unflinching, carrying a message that needed no spoken words. It was an invitation to be seen, to be chosen, to stop measuring his worth against the past. Around them, guests sensed something meaningful was unfolding, something unscripted and sincere. For him, the moment felt unreal, like stepping into sunlight after years of shade. He had spent so long believing that love was something that happened once, that loss was permanent, and that healing was a solitary journey. Yet here was proof that someone had noticed his resilience, his kindness, his quiet strength. The weight in his chest loosened, replaced by a warmth that felt unfamiliar but welcome. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of soft music and gentle glances. No grand declarations were made, no promises demanded. What mattered was the shift inside him, the understanding that life still had surprises reserved for those willing to show up, even when they feel broken. The neighbor returned to her seat, heart racing, unsure of what the future held, but certain she had done the right thing. As the celebration continued, He no longer felt like a stranger to joy. He wasn't suddenly healed, and the past didn't vanish, but something essential had changed. He realized that love doesn't always arrive dressed as romance. Sometimes it arrives as recognition, as someone standing up when the world expects them to remain seated. Near the end of the night, as lights dimmed and guests prepared to leave, he caught her eye again. There was no need for explanation. What passed between them was understanding, mutual and gentle. Two lives once parallel had quietly shifted closer, not because of fate alone, but because of courage. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness can change the course of a single evening or an entire life, please take a moment now to like this video, share it with someone who believes in hope, and subscribe to Ripple of Kindness. Your engagement helps spread stories that matter. Before the ending, we have a special request for you. Please comment below and tell us whether you believe small acts of courage can change destiny. Your words may inspire someone reading them right now. He left the wedding that night no longer feeling alone. The neighbor walked a few steps behind him, the distance between them smaller than it had ever been. Sometimes love doesn't begin with fireworks or vows, but with one brave moment, one person choosing to say, "Without words, you matter." And in that simple truth, two hearts found the beginning they